Okay, I think we'll get started now. So thank you for joining us this evening for the Chichester College Group's UCAS and Higher Education event. I believe we have an audience of students, parents and carers. So this information will be providing for everybody. So I do need to tell you that this event is being recorded for future use. My name is Glenda Ford and I am the Pastoral Support Manager for Chichester and Brinsbury Colleges, and I'm also responsible for the UCAS process at these campuses. So on this slide that you will see the colleges which make up the Chichester College Group. Each has a unique character and location, but we take a consistent approach in the high level of support that we offer at each campus to our students. And we're really very proud of our Ofsted Outstanding status that we achieved in March last year. And when they visited us, Ofsted recognised and commented on the outstanding support that enhances our students' experience throughout their time with us. So this evening, I'm joined by a team of staff from across the campuses that are experts in their field at supporting students to take their next step into higher education. So tonight, we're going to be providing you with a great deal of advice and guidance that's going to help students to consider their next step and give parents and carers information to be able to support their young people to make the very important decisions about their future. There are over 395 higher education providers in the UK, and UCAS, that's the Universities and Colleges Admission Service, list over 50,000 undergraduate courses on their website. So with this in mind, the earlier we can get students to start considering where they may want to be in 2022, the better. And for those students that are with us tonight that are saying, oh, 2022, that's such a long way away, I can assure you it really isn't. So tonight you're going to hear about the support and opportunities that are available at the college and the importance of research and how the UCAS application process works, as well as an overview of student finance. This event is scheduled to run for about an hour, and we're going to complete the evening with a question and answer session. But do use the Q&A box on your screen as and when you think of a question, as it is being monitored throughout the presentation. But firstly, I'm going to highlight to you the support that the CCG offer for moving into HE. So as a college group, we start thinking about our students' next step as soon as they arrive with us, not only through their qualification, but also through developing the skills that they need for moving on. So in one-to-ones with their student tutors, they discuss their future options and they're signposted to the support that is available to them, or they set targets to develop their knowledge on progression steps. Through the ACES programme, student tutors are currently delivering progression-themed sessions. So for moving into HE, there is a wide range of fantastic support that is available. Progression Plus, and that's our careers team, are key in supporting and providing information, advice and guidance around this. Students are able to book one-to-one advice and guidance meetings with them, where parents and carers are more than welcome to attend. And these one-to-ones give students the opportunity to really explore their options and where individual action plans can be developed. There are weekly UCAS drop-in opportunities that are run from September through to January deadline. And every application is checked by a member of staff before it's sent to UCAS to ensure there's no errors have been made. Through the summer break, where workshops are offered, and hopefully this summer we will be able to run some face-to-face sessions again, but we are also planning virtual ones as well. And these workshops offer students help with researching for HE institutions and courses, as well as help with the UCAS application process and person statements. The teaching teams invite Progression Plus teams into classrooms to run UCAS information sessions. And the team offers students the opportunity to get feedback on personal statements. They are also supported by local universities in this who run personal statement clinics for our students, offering really personalised feedback. Progression Plus also organise a number of events, one being the annual October HE Fair. Last year it was virtual, but in more normal times, over 40 HE institutions attend from around the country, and students are able to speak to representatives and find out information about courses and what it's really like to study at a higher level. The team also work really closely with students who wish to make a priority application. That's those applying for Oxford, Cambridge, medicine, dentistry, and veterinary. And that's to ensure that they are fully equipped to make the really best competitive application and meet the priority deadline. We also continue to work with all students once their applications have been sent to UCAS, and will advise on offers they receive and work with interview techniques and offer mock interviews for those students that have been offered an interview. The support we offer, the events and deadlines are all promoted on social media, our websites, through the ACES programs, and on display boards throughout the campuses. For our students in the audience tonight, please ensure that you do keep up with all this information that is available. We very much encourage our students to be independent learners in preparation for life after college. But parents, carers, please encourage your young people to take responsibility in seeking out and engaging with the support that we do have on offer for them. It will honestly make their life a lot easier in the future. Now I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Alistair, who is going to speak to you about the importance of finding that right course.
Thank you very much, Glenda. So I'm just going to go through briefly now some of the things to look at when researching your course, and also highlight some resources that we have at Chichester College Group that I'd recommend you look up in your own time after this session. So we could just skip through to the next slide, please. So here you should see a number of links. There are loads of places to go online to find out about different courses. Obviously, one I'm hoping you've all heard of is UCAS. This is where you would apply to courses. This is, the main place to go to look at courses where you're going to do your applications. As well as UCAS, there are other unofficial sources, places like UniGuide and whatuni.com. These are good at giving additional information, including reviews from past students, a bit more about each university and what it offers. So they're great at comparing different universities. Another one down there, the Complete University Guide, .co.uk. There are the university league tables, and Megan is sharing a bunch of really useful links in the chat now. University league tables are great places to go. You can look at how your university ranks versus other universities on a number of factors. There might be universities which rank best for research, or perhaps you want to study psychology and one university ranks best for psychology. It's not just a case of Oxford and Cambridge are the best for everything. Each university, each higher education institution is good at different things. So some might be really good at providing mental health support, or some might have a really good union that really supports their students. So you can look and decide what you're looking for in an institution, as well as a course. That link in the top right there, prospects. There's a certain web page on the prospects website called What Can I Do With My Degree? And this is really useful because you might be thinking, oh, what does this degree lead to later in life? I'm really into this subject, but I don't really know where it might lead to in terms of a job, or where it might lead to next. And that's really good because it just shows and highlights the number of doors that are opened by different courses. And bottom right, I've just put the University of Brighton logo there. Institution websites. I mean, all these websites have, lists of all the institutions, all the higher education places to go, all the different courses you can do. It's a really great idea to look at the individual websites. So I'm sure a lot of you will consider Brighton. It's a nearby university. You can go to the University of Brighton website and find out all about, all the information there is to know about Brighton University there. Likewise, for any university or any website you want to go to, perhaps you want to look at the courses available at Chichester College Group. The Chichester College Group website is the best place to go to for that. So if you just skip forward to the next slide, please. So now kind of how do you find the right course? So I've given you some ideas of where to look, where to find information, but what are you looking at? There's so many different things when it comes to choosing a degree or an HE course or whatever course you're doing. It's a really big decision to make. If you're going to commit a year, 2 years, 3 years of your life to it, what are you actually looking at while you're researching those courses? So here, there's a few different examples of things you might want to look at. Course content. What does the course involve? I think there's something people often say is, do what you enjoy, something you're interested in, something you want to study. Look at what the course involves. If it involves things you think are interesting, you think you'd like studying, that's really a good place to start from. Look at the modules. You may have, let's say, for example, I studied economics when I was at university. You might look at the economics course at the University of Sussex, an economics course at the University of Portsmouth, and you can see how they're different by looking at the modules on that course. So I might be learning different things, despite the fact I'm studying the same degree, but from a different university. The modules might be different. So you might really think, oh, that module looks really interesting. I really want to learn that particular degree at that particular course because the modules are more interesting to you. Lecturers and key staff. There's a nice little cartoon of, I think, he looks like a lecturer or an Albert Einstein type down there. But yeah, lecturers and key staff, you might, it makes a real big difference. I'm sure you know this from your time at college and the time at school as well. The teacher that's teaching your subject makes a huge difference. You might have certain lecturers and certain staff that you might really enjoy learning from. So you can look up those lecturers, and if you're at a university, these lecturers might have certain expertise, and those areas of expertise might be something you're interested in. They might have really interesting research that fascinates you, or you might look at a video of them, watch them lecturing, watch them speaking, and think they have quite an interesting personality. They look like the type of person you'd get on with and enjoy working from. So look at lecturers and key staff. That's another thing that will change, how you enjoy and how you experience your course. Assessment style. This makes a big difference to how you learn and how you get on with your course, is what kind of assessment style you like to do. So at college, maybe you have a lot of courses that are coursework based, or maybe you have courses that are exam based. At degree level and at HE level, this can really vary. So it's worth looking up in advance. If it's a course that's really coursework based, perhaps you don't like coursework and that might put you off. Or it's the other way around. Perhaps it's a course that's really exam based. You don't like exams, that might put you off. This will make a difference to both how you enjoy your course and how well you do. I remember from my personal experience, I very deliberately chose modules that were a mix between coursework and exams, so that I didn't have 20 exams at the end of the year, or I didn't have 10 pieces of coursework to hand in at once, because it just made the year a lot easier to pass. Your life will be made more easier if you pay attention to these things. So look at the assessment style and decide, do I want to be more coursework based? Do I want to be more exam based? Do I want to have lots of exams, or do I want to have like one big exam at the end? All this stuff will make a difference to how you enjoy your course and how you get on with it. Next, institution and location. Sorry, stay same slide, yes. Institution and location. This is huge. This is a really, really, really big deal. If you are going away, so if you're moving away from home, you want to choose a location you're going to be happy in. You want to choose an institution that you're going to be happy studying at. We've looked at the University of Brighton. If you were moving down to Brighton to go to university, if you hate Brighton, probably a bad idea. If you would love to live in Brighton, a good idea. Or maybe you want to go really far away. You want to go to the University of Edinburgh. Maybe you want to stay at Chichester because it's a good institution and you can stay living at home. There are loads of, hundreds of places to study around the country. I'm sure lots of which you can be very happy in, but choose the type of town and the type of university or the type of HE institution that you think you would enjoy studying in. This really is going to make a big difference. And last thing, league tables. I mentioned them beforehand, and there'll be a link in the chat to different places you can look at league tables. If you're really interested in studying a certain course, look at which university offers the, is the best for that course. Universities will be ranked on how good they are at certain courses. So the university that's the best at maths might not be the best at engineering. So look at, based on the course you're doing, which of the universities, which of the institutions that are good to study at. So we could just skip over to the next slide, please. So I'm just going to highlight now a place to find some additional resources. I've obviously quite briefly gone through things to look at when you're researching your courses. So these resources are on the link Megan's just posted in the chat on CCG Online, which you should all have access to. So if you go to CCG Online and click on the little progression plus, so you can see a little plus symbol on the right hand side there. This is just a small cropped screenshot of what the website looks like. But if you just click on that progression plus, that should take you forward to the next slide. And here there's loads of resources here. As this is kind of a parents, UCAS advice and guidance evening, the one I've highlighted there is the parents and carers advice and guidance tab. And there'll be a bunch of resources in there to help with looking at UCAS and help with looking at higher education courses. But that's not the only resource there. If you look just on that page, there's information, advice and guidance, National Career Service, T-levels, preparing for employment, etc. And there's loads more on that page as well, and more so than are in the screenshot here. What we're going to go through today, and what we've been through already and what we're going through today, is really a brief overview and a little snapshot of the support available to you. What is really good idea is going and looking in your own time. I really highly recommend after today's session, later today or tomorrow or another day, look at these resources and have a look at them in your own time, because there's loads of research you can be doing yourself after the session as well. So we go through to the next slide, please. Good. So I'm now going to pass on to the wonderful James Izzard, who's going to talk about the UCAS application process.
Thank you very much, Alistair. And I want to start tonight just by starting to outline the college and UCAS deadlines for making applications for higher education. This includes applications for higher education courses offered by the Chichester College Group as well. So if you are applying for a higher education course at any of our campuses, please apply through the UCAS system. As you can see on our slide, we have priority deadlines and general deadlines for all other applications. Priority refers to courses which have an earlier deadline date. So these include applications to Oxford, Cambridge, medicine, dentistry, or veterinary science. The college deadline for these courses is the 1st of October, so that we can meet the UCAS deadline, which is the 15th of October. For all other courses, the college deadline is the 1st of December to meet the UCAS deadline of the 15th of January. Okay, so these dates do not change throughout each year. They stay the same for each year. The college deadlines are set earlier than the UCAS ones to ensure that the reference is written and the application is checked over before being sent to UCAS. It's worth pointing out here that apart from priority courses, you can make an application after the UCAS deadline of the 15th of January. Many courses will still be accepting applications after this date. However, applications submitted before the deadline will be considered by the universities first. So, with that in mind, there is still time. If you want to make an application for university to start in September 2021, if you need support with this, please contact the Progression Plus team. Okay, so how do we make an application? To make an application, where do I apply? Well, you can apply online via the UCAS website at ucas.com. How many courses can I apply for? You can apply for up to 5 courses, except for priority applicants. If you are applying for dentistry, medicine, or veterinary sciences, there's a maximum of 4 choices and a backup option. If you're applying for Oxbridge, applicants must choose between either Oxford or Cambridge of those two choices. The choices you put down are not made in any particular order, and other universities cannot see where else applicants have applied for. So how much does it cost? Okay, well, this really does depend on how many courses you are applying for and when the application is being submitted. So if you submit your application before the 30th of June 2021, for one choice, it'd be £20. For 2 to 5 choices, 5 being the maximum, is £26. If you submit after the 30th of June, then all choices, no matter how many you make, is £26. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we start off our application? To register and start your application, please go to ucas.com/apply and click on undergraduate. Anyone who's studying for their first degree is known as an undergraduate. It will then ask you whether you'd like to link your application to a school or college. It's really important that you connect your application to the college so that we can support you, provide the reference and make the necessary final checks to ensure that your application is of a quality standard. You will need a college buzzword to link to the college. There are different buzzwords for each of our campuses, and these buzzwords change each application year. Your Progression Plus team can and will let you know what your buzzword is. Once you have registered, the application is divided into different sections, including personal details, additional information, student finance, course and university choices, your education history, and your employment history as well, followed finally by the personal statement. Each section needs to be completed fully for the application to be sent. It doesn't have to be completed in one go, so you can save and come back to it at a later date. Once the application has been sent, the applicant can pay and submit, ready to be checked by the Progression Plus team. Once that's been all checked and we're happy with the application, we will then submit the application to UCAS. Okay, I'm going to now hand over to my colleague Rachel, who is going to talk a bit more about the personal statements.
Thank you, James. So I work alongside this team of people in Progression Plus, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on the personal statement. So James has mentioned this is part of the UCAS application, and it is a very important part of the application. So what does this look like? It's about a page of A4 type, so it should be 4,000 characters with spaces no more than 47 lines long. So there are quite strict requirements on writing this statement. And we tend to think of it as a mini essay, so it needs to be structured well and contains certain information. As Glenda's already outlined, there's plenty of support and help on offer to help people with writing the personal statement. And it can take quite a bit of time to put this piece of work together. So we do recommend to start early with the research and obviously take advantage of that support so that you can get some feedback. The universities share with us how best to structure this statement. So I'm just going to share that with you. So to start with, they recommend a brief introduction, which is about 10% of the statement, and this should really focus on the topic that you've selected to study and why. So outlining the inspiration and why you'd like to study that topic. The next section, which is the biggest part of the statement, about 35% of your statement, should really focus on your chosen course and evidence your enthusiasm for this subject. The universities really want to see your potential for studying at higher education level. So being able to show off your academic skills and how you put together this statement is really important. Making sure that you can show any wider reading, plenty of analysis of, it could be theories or articles that you've picked up or webinars that you've attended around your chosen subject. It's also important to show that you're keeping up to date with what's going on in your subject area. So being able to reference or talk about current affairs or different debates and show plenty of analysis is really key. There's also a section for any related skills and experience. So it might be that you can talk around some work experiences or any observations that you've taken part of that relate to your topic. And also think about transferable skills that may have come from part-time working or volunteering or any positions of responsibility that may have been held. Universities are also keen to find out a little bit more about you and your interests and any hobbies and any skills that come from those areas as well. And lastly, a bit like the introduction, a short paragraph, about 10% of the statement, just to conclude why they should offer you a place on their course. So the statement does take quite a bit of time. And as I've said, we would encourage you to use the resources and research early. New for this year as well is on the UCAS hub. They have got a personal statement builder, which is really useful. So we would advise you to check that out as well and really take advantage of all the support that's on offer. Next slide, please. Universities tell us that the strongest statements contain lots of examples, lots of evidence around your chosen subject, plenty of analysis and reflection, so they can really see your enthusiasm for the subject. Thank you. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Leanne.
Thank you, Rachel. Higher education courses don't have to be studied at university, and this sometimes really surprises people, but around 240 colleges in the UK now offer university level courses. At Chichester College Group, we have around 30 different HE courses at 4 of our campuses, and students often tell us there are many benefits to studying with us. We're able to provide outstanding teaching, support and guidance, and as our classes tend to be smaller, with around 10 to 20 students, we can provide lots of individual support. You'll also have your own dedicated higher education coach, and they will support you throughout your course, and they'll help you either progress onto further study or onto graduate level employment. All of our courses are really vocational and they're tailored to the needs of industry, which means that our students are very employable. You're also taught by industry experienced staff and will benefit from extensive links with employers. Our fees also offer great value for money. For example, a higher national diploma of around £3,000 a year, less than you pay for a similar course at university. You can also save a considerable amount of money if you're not having to move away from home, because you'll also reduce your living expenses. You may also be eligible for one of our CCG learner support grants of up to £500 a year, and these help towards the cost of equipment, books and travel. So what qualifications can you achieve with us at CCG? Our qualifications give you much more flexibility, as you don't have to commit to a 3-year programme. You can study in stages to fit in with your own life. Higher national diplomas are level 4 qualifications, and these are equivalent to the first year of a degree. Higher national diplomas, so higher national certificates. Higher national diplomas are level 5, and these are equivalent to the second year of a degree. HNCs and HNDs are really industry specific, and they're designed to prepare you for a career. These are really popular because they're work related and highly regarded by employers. When you've finished, you can move straight into employment, or you could top up your qualification and study for 1 more year to gain a full degree. Foundation degrees are also level 5, and these are equivalent to 2/3 of a degree. They're perfect if you want to work and gain a qualification that builds on your own experiences. These can be studied part-time to fit around your own work commitments. Top-up degrees are equivalent to the final year of a degree, and as the name suggests, you can top up an existing qualification, for example, a foundation degree or a HND to a full degree. We work in partnership with Portsmouth and Chichester University to offer our foundation degrees and top-ups. So for these particular courses, you can also access the university's facilities and resources. We have a wide range of courses. And I'm just going to briefly summarise what we offer at each campus, but full details of all of our courses are available on UCAS and on all of our websites. So, at our Brinsbury campus, we offer a wide range of courses. This is our land-based campus, and we offer horticulture, animal management, sustainable food production courses are also taught here. At our Chichester and Crawley campus, we offer courses to develop a really wide range of careers, including business, engineering, technology, multimedia, dance, and many more. At our Worthing campus, we have a really successful sports programme that we offer in partnership with the University of Chichester. At our Crawley campus, we're really excited because we're about to open a brand new multi-million-pound purpose-built STEM centre, and we'll have some of the best facilities in the region for studying IT, creative media and also engineering. It's not too late to apply for any of our courses at any of our campuses across the CCG group. Because we have small classes, we're very fortunate that we can take applications throughout the year. As I've mentioned, full details are available online on our website and on UCAS, and we've also popped a copy of our prospectus in the chat for you. I'm going to hand back now to my colleague Alistair, and he's going to talk to you about all things related to funding your studies.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Really interesting kind of overview of the courses there. So here, what you should see in front of you is kind of student finance numbers. And the big thing I'm going to say before I start explaining this is that not to be put off HE courses or going to university by the cost. That's a bit of a problem people sometimes have, as they think, oh, I can't carry on studying, it costs too much. I can't go to university, it costs too much. In reality, there's a lot of support available to you. So no one, no matter what background you're from, no one cannot afford university, no one cannot afford an HE course. There's a lot of funding available to you. So in student finance, you get two loans. You get a tuition fee loan and a maintenance loan. A tuition fee loan covers the cost of your course. So this doesn't come to you, it just goes directly to where you're studying and pays for your course. So this is up to $9,250 a year, because that's the maximum amount a course can cost. But if your course costs just £3,000, for example, it'll be $3,000 a year. So that doesn't go to you, it just goes directly to your university or wherever you're studying. The maintenance loan does go to you, and that's to help with living costs such as housing, rent, food, etc. How much you get will depend on where you're studying, what your household income is, and a number of different factors. So you'll fill out an application process where you fill out some details on your household income, that being the income of your parents or guardians. Also where you're going to study, say if you're living away from home, if you're living at home, if you're living in London, outside of London, etc. And that will decide how much money you get. So the maximums we have here, the maximum for living at home is up to $7,747 a year. So if you were staying at home, that's the maximum you'll get. And the maximum for living away from home, so if you're moving away from home to live at where you're studying, the maximum you can get is $9,203 a year. And as well as this support, you also could be eligible for extra support or grants and bursaries. So here I'm going to go through a number of these. So there's a number of reasons why you may be eligible for extra funding. So the top one, Disability Students Allowance, otherwise known as DSA. You'll often see that acronym DSA. That's what it means, Disability Students Allowance. If you have any disability, this supports with those costs. So you might have extra funding if you have a disability that affects your studying or your living. You can get some extra funding to support with those costs. Adult dependent grants. So perhaps you're responsible for another adult. There's another adult in your home, another adult that you live with that you're responsible for. You can get some money to support with them as well. Childcare grant and parents learning allowance. This is if you have kids, you can get a contribution to childcare costs so that you're able to study and your kids can be looked after. And also parents learning allowances to support with those extra course costs if you have children. So you could just get a bit more money to support with your living costs and things related to your course, so buying resources, books, etc. if you have children. And the last one, and this one can really vary, scholarships and bursaries. So these are offered by colleges, universities, charities, the government, and they can promote participation in certain courses or participation from certain backgrounds. So you might be from a certain background where, or have, a certain facts about yourself where the government wants to encourage people like you to go to university, in which case there may be a scholarship available. Also, you might be studying a certain course. I know there's a lot of these in education. There are education courses where you get given a big bursary to study that course. And a lot of these scholarships and bursaries and the additional funding in this list here, most of it is not a loan. So that means that you don't have to pay it back. So with the student loan, the maintenance loan and the tuition fee loan, you pay back over many years. So you'll pay it back out of your taxes in many years to come, if you're earning enough. These are mainly grants, meaning that the money is given to you with no expectation to pay it back. With the scholarships and bursaries, I'd highly recommend looking up whether you're eligible for any, looking at based on your course, based on yourself, what scholarships and bursaries are available, because there's a whole wealth of different ones available for different courses and different people from different areas. If we just go over to the next slide now. So what to do now in terms of student finance? Here, this website, so the gov.uk website, and you can find this, there'll be a link to this in the chat, but you can also find this just by typing in student finance into Google. It should take you pretty much straight to this page. So it's on gov.uk, but if you just type in student finance, it should take you to this page. And this page has a step-by-step guide. So we just skip to the next slide, please. So here you've got a step-by-step guide, and you go through all these processes. So before you even apply, you can check if you're eligible, check that you're eligible for funding, find out how much loan you'd get, check if you can get extra help. So that's those, all those additional funding things, those scholarships and bursaries I talked about. This website allows you to check that. Prepare your application and apply. So this is where you go to find out all the information you need to know about what you're eligible for, if you're eligible for extra funding, what you need to do to apply, and it's also where you go to apply. So this is where basically if you're applying for student finance, this is where you're going to go to next. That student finance website on gov.uk. But if you just Google student finance, it should take you straight to this page. We just skip over to the next slide, please. Good, so that's it on student finance. I just want to reiterate that first thing I said, that the main thing I want to get across for student finance is that no course is too expensive, no degree is too expensive. No matter what your background or your financial situation, there's support available. So university, higher education, continuing your studying is available to everyone. So now it's time for some questions, and these questions aren't just for me, they're for everyone that's spoken, all the advisors we have here. Any questions about UCAS and higher education? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Rachel, who's going to read some of the questions out. What you can do is if you look at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little button that says Q&A with 2 speech bubbles. You can click that and type your questions into there, and we'll be able to see those questions and answer them. So if you type your questions into Q&A about anything you've seen in the presentation today, anything about UCAS or higher education, we'll be able to answer them. But I believe I'm now going to hand over to Rachel, who I think is going to be reading out the questions.
Lovely, thank you very much. So we've got a few questions that have come in so far. First one I'm going to throw out to James, and that is, who can I contact if I need support with my application?
So I just unmute myself. Yes, you can contact your Progression Plus team at your campus of college. We have details of them after this slide, hopefully, where you can contact us, go to your Progression Plus centre, and yes, our advisors will be able to help you with your application.
Lovely, thank you very much. I can see one question's popped in asking when the presentation will be sent out. So for everybody that's attended, this presentation has been recorded and it will be emailed out to everybody tomorrow. We've had another question in about student finance, so I'm going to pop that one over to Alistair, and that is, when can I apply for student finance?
Good question. This is one I'm actually going to get horribly wrong, so James, do correct me on this. You can apply for student finance. I want to say as soon as you've applied for your course, but I might be be wrong on that. Like I say, as soon as you apply to your course, you're able to start applying for student finance. It may be the case that it's much later than that. I'm worried I'm getting that awfully wrong. James, or anyone else able to offer?
Do you want me to jump in, honey?
Yes, please, Leanne. Yes.
Yeah, it does. Generally, it's this time of year. So for people who've applied that are starting this coming September, the application process is just literally open now for them to apply for student finance. So it's generally around kind of February, March time each year. But Student Finance England do put out quite a lot of promotion. And if you've applied to university or you've applied to us, we would contact you and just kind of give you a nudge and say that you are now able to apply and make the application. So generally kind of February, March time.
Thanks, Leanne.
Yeah, if I could just add as well that if you apply through UCAS, UCAS also let you know when to start applying for finance. So you get loads and loads of reminders to do it.
Lovely, thank you. That's a good team answer there. So we've had a question about personal statements, which I think I'll ask over to Rachel. So it says, on the personal statement, how will this be affected by COVID impacting on work experience, getting part-time work, etc.? Which is a really good question.
Yeah, no, that is a really good question. Thank you for asking that, because I'm sure there are several people with the same thought. We are in touch with the universities, particularly for courses that require a certain amount of work experience. This is obviously having an effect. So we're keeping in contact with the universities. Some of the universities are extending the period of time in which work experience can be gathered. So I'm talking about some of the subjects like veterinary medicine, where it is essential to have a certain number of hours of work experience. Some universities, because we are in this challenging situation, are accepting of students perhaps doing virtual work experience opportunities, which is something that we're working on promoting at the moment. And also we would recommend to attend some online webinars, or do look at some of the other learning resources that you can find on that CCG online page, just to try and strengthen the applications on that side of things as well. So really good question, thank you.
That's really helpful. Leanne, I've got a couple for you now on HE at CCG group. So one of them is, how many days a week would I be expected to attend classes?
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Most of our courses are full-time, but full-time in HE doesn't tend to be Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. Most of our HE courses, you study over 2 or 3 days a week in class, because the expectation is that you are doing independent study and independent learning. So the other days you'll be working on your assignments and doing your own research. So generally 2 or 3 days a week. Our part-time courses tend to be either 1 day or maybe 1 or 2 evenings a week as well. And some of our courses are also done in blocks. So, for example, one of our HNC construction courses, they come to us in blocks throughout the year. So it does vary, but generally 2 or 3 days a week.
Thank you. Another one for you, Leanne, is, who is available to support me throughout my studies?
Oh, you've got lots of people. You're really lucky if you come to us. So you have obviously your teaching staff and your lecturing staff, but you also, for every single HE course, you have a course leader, and they're responsible for your kind of day-to-day progress and how you're getting on. You also have a higher education coach. So for each campus, you have a designated person who will look after you, so that they deal more with your pastoral support. So if you're coming from us at the moment doing level 3, you would have had a student tutor. So the HE coach is a very similar role, but because you're young adults and we're expecting you to work a lot more independently, their kind of roles slightly different. So they support you. You also have myself, so you have a progression coach, and part of my responsibility is to help you with your progression, so your next steps. So it's not just about getting you that qualification. We also want to make sure that you either go on to further study, so you might do a top-up with us, or you might go on to uni and do a top-up, or if you're doing a BA with us, you might go on to do a master's, or if you're leaving us to go into employment, we really want to make sure you go on to graduate level employment. So you do have a real kind of strong team around you to support you.
Fantastic, thank you. There's so many people to look after, isn't there? You're right, they're very lucky. Okay, so I've got somebody asking a couple of finance questions, actually, Alistair, if it's all right to jump back over to you.
I'll have a second try. Let's see if I get it.
So I've got, the first question is, do we just apply for student finance in the first year, or will we have to apply every year for tuition and the maintenance loan?
No, you only apply once. And then you kind of get that loan throughout your time at university. There may be a couple of box ticking kind of confirming you're getting student finance again, but the application process, which is the lengthy process that you have to go through at the beginning, you only do once. So providing evidence on who you are, your parents' household income, you just do that once at the beginning, and then that's your loan for your whole time at university.
Fantastic, thank you, that's really helpful. And another question is, the maximum funding for living away, does this include living in London, or are there additional funds available for living in London?
Yes, so the maximum I think you saw there, that £9,000 figure, was the London figure. So okay. The maximum is different in London. It's a higher amount in London to account for the incredibly high London living expenses. In my opinion, it should be higher in Brighton as well, because it's very expensive down there. But basically, yes, it's higher in London. So you get a lot more in London and a bit less outside of London.
Great. Thank you very much. James, I've got another question for you here. So what happens if you don't get an offer from any of your 5 choices?
Okay, so if you've used up all your 5 choices on UCAS and you're not having any offers on them, UCAS will then automatically put you through in your finalists on your apply track system. They'll put you through to clearing extra, okay, which is where you can deal with further universities, further courses on a one-to-one basis. So rather than doing it to 5 different universities, you would then be able to send your application to another university that has spaces, so your application can be considered.
Fantastic, thank you. And another one for you, James, here. Obviously, the earlier the better, but when would you suggest to aim for people to have their applications finished?
Well, obviously, we're looking to meet the college deadlines, as mentioned earlier. But I think that what we have to remember with applications, it's not a race, it's quality application. And one of the big questions that a lot of students tend to have is, are there any benefits from actually getting their application in earlier? Are they invited to interview quicker? And we speak to universities about this constantly. We check it every year to see what they say, and the majority of them say the same thing. It doesn't tend to matter. Okay, so I would rather that the student paid more attention to having the best possible application they can, taking their time with it and making sure they're covering everything, rather than trying to make it a very quick application. But again, that's what Progression Plus Service is there to help with. We can help along that process, and we do these. We read through and we do the final checks just to make sure that the application is the best possible application we can submit.
Thank you. That was really helpful. Another one for you, James. Is it 5 different courses or 5 different universities? So, for example, could you apply for 2 courses but at the same university? Would that be 2 options?
It's an interesting conversation, isn't it? I guess take an example. If you're applying to Brighton University, for example, and you're applying for business and also wanted to apply for business with economics, should you use up 2 choices on just one university? The best thing to do is to speak to the university themselves, and because most of the time what they'll advise you to do is to apply for 1 course at a university, so that frees up the other 4 choices for other universities as well. So my advice would be 5 universities rather than 5 courses, 5 universities rather than the same course.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. Okay, and then we've just got one final question, I think, now, because we're rapidly running out of time. So back to you, Alistair, and that would be, could you please discuss more about bursaries, whether it's dependent on the university, and also where can you find out more information about all the different types?
Okay, Jen, good question. there is a website which I will make a note to find, and I can send you after this meeting, that is kind of a catch-all place for all the bursaries. A lot of them are based on the course you're studying. There are less that are based on the university itself. Some universities will have their own special bursaries that they offer. So it might be that Oxford offer a bursary for certain students who are able to reach Oxford, etc. The main bursaries are based on the course. So education is a huge one. I think there are some in healthcare as well. And they are available to people studying that course anywhere. So, you know, whether you're studying it in Glasgow or in London, that bursary is based on the fact that you're studying in that course. And the reason those bursaries exist is because the government want people to study certain courses because there are a shortage of skills in that area. So because there's a shortage of teachers, there's extra money to help people go into teaching. Bursaries that are dependent on university do exist. They are less common, but they do exist. So it may be the case of a certain university wants certain people or has a certain special bursary available. There is this website that has a kind of a catch-all for all scholarships and bursaries. I will make a note to, if that's not already on the notes, I will find that and make sure it's sent to you after this session. It was Jen Spencer, right, who asked that question? I think so. I think it was Jen Spencer.
Let me jump back in. Yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes,
Jen,
yeah.
I'll be certain to make sure that you receive it after this session and it goes out after this session.
Lovely, thank you very much. That was a great answer. I think we've reached the end of our question and answer sessions now. So anybody else that's just popping through with questions, we'll make sure we do get back to you individually. I'm now going to hand back over to Glenda, who'll just finish the session off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Right, so thank you very much for attending this evening. I hope you have found the information, and I'm sorry there's so much information that we have given you, but I hope you found it useful. You will be receiving an email from us, and that will give you links to our CCG online events page, where you'll have all the information and all the resources and what we've spoken about tonight, as well as a recording of this presentation. So from all of us, thank you again, and we wish you a very pleasant rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.